So here's the second part of my peer review, and I'll be a little bit negative with this one here. So it's really hard to give negative feedback in a way that the author wants to listen. So this could happen in any of the other sections. At the beginning, I did find some parts of this paper in the last one where their MLA format wasn't perfect. But the content was actually quite strong. I looked at a quote sandwich that was actually really strong. But let's look here. Is their overall argument convincing? So I think that their overall argument is convincing. But there is kind of a weakness here when they talk about the chronological order. So they're saying that Goggins has a problem with chronological order. And it made me read the book more than 3 times. So when you're reading a new story or chapter for the first time, there's going to be confusing parts. If the story is any good, then part of it should make you slow down and read it more carefully. So this is a case of that. So in the peer review, do you see any obvious logical fallacies or weaknesses in their argument? So I'm not going to label this a logical fallacy specifically, but I would say generally that this is a weakness in their argument or a logical fallacy. It's kind of a straw man. You don't have to say that. Where they're saying that Goggins' chronological order is not really strong, but actually the reader just needed to read it a few more times, and then they understood it. So that's not Goggins' fault. And so here, rather than calling it a problem, you could say problem is too strong. Use more positive language or use a softer word. So here, instead of saying, you could recognize that it's your weakness as a reader and say, on the other hand, I have a problem with Goggins' chronological order. At the beginning, it took me a while to understand, but then I was able to understand, right? And so it's actually just a very different comment. It's kind of a comment about your own reading, and that's okay because we're all developing readers. So just be careful when you give feedback, especially on argument. You can just say, this part isn't clear. Maybe try rephrasing it again. Because like I said in class, sometimes students have ideas that are clear in their head, but it's not clear on their paper yet. And so if they hear that it's not clear, they might be able to revise it enough so that in their final draft or their next draft, it's much more clear. So good luck with your peer review. I know you guys will do a great job. Okay, that's the end of this video. And I think someone's watching me on my meeting.